Hello and welcome to this Friday's morning market briefing. We've got lots to talk about, but firstly, Elon Musk's XAI secures new backing from Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia and Tribe Capital, as well as that Capital Group and KKR partner to offer private assets to wider audience. We've got lots to talk about on the charts. Also, with lots happening on the economic calendar as well, but we'll come to that near the end, so make sure you stay around so you can see that. Before we get straight into it though, make sure to subscribe. But the first article we'll talk about is to do with Elon Musk's XAI. Now, Elon Musk's XAI startup has now secured the backing of new Silicon Valley venture capital giants, those being Sequoia Capital and Tribe Capital. This comes as Musk closes in on the funding round of his artificial intelligence startup, which is now valued at a monumental $18 billion. Now, of course, we've stayed very much up to date with all the recent AI developments and, new startups and that kind of thing that have been affecting markets greatly. And of course, the reason why is we are kind of experiencing this AI revolution, which we commonly point out on this channel, which is having a great effect on the world, but also markets, of course. And we've been tracking that through through numerous ways, really. And those kind of key tech giants, which have really been leading the push during this AI revolution, has of course been a frequent topic of discussion on this channel, with the likes of Google, Meta, Microsoft, Apple even, all kind of getting in on this race to develop the best AI language model and really win the kind of market and beat the competition against the odds. So that's kind of been the key topic to note recently, and that's really what we have been covering. And of course, whilst X and Elon Musk's ventures have kind of stayed more on the back front and have less been a topic of AI discussion, and more so a topic maybe to do with space exploration or EVs and that kind of thing. That's kind of where we've really spoken about Elon Musk before. Ultimately, its development of XAI has kind of meshed into some other previous AI developments of Musk, and we've previously noted on the channel the likes of Grok, which is kind of the X, formerly known as Twitter, chatbot, which is using kind of AI technology to kind of answer those questions and queries on the X app. But also we've kind of covered the topic of AI to do with Tesla, as ultimately the topic of AI and Tesla has been a key point really of kind of positive improvements within the automobile industry, but also it's kind of been a point of contention, as of course Elon Musk himself has really struggled to push such AI technology into kind of self-driving integrating AI with self-driving technology has kind of been a key point, but he's really struggled to do this in certain places. And one of those key places has of course been China, which offer a massive market with regards to EVs and demand for Tesla vehicles. But ultimately, Elon Musk up until now really struggled with the legislation and actually being able to implement such kind of useful technology into those vehicles in China. Obviously, that's recently been resolved, but that's kind of the topics that we've usually been covering with regards to Elon Musk and AI. Whereas this article, of course, focuses on this kind of startup that Elon Musk is focusing on, once again focusing or linking back to the kind of brand of X, which is now represented in what was formerly known as Twitter, but also SpaceX, so his space exploration and space technology company, and now of course we're kind of representing it with regards to AI technology and AI developments and that sort of thing. So it's interesting to see that brand being spread across many different kind of industries and sectors. But of course, this AI development, this AI startup is kind of being talked about so much, obviously because of the funding round that it is going through at the moment, with this massive funding round of $6 billion kind of attracting a few eyes, and of course attracting the likes of Sequoia and Tribe, those two very key venture capital firms. And their investments obviously somewhat validate this new startup. And whilst it's not hard to validate a startup being run by Elon Musk, one of, or if not the richest man in the world, whilst that does kind of bring some validation in itself, ultimately adding in these new venture capital firms, adding in more and more investors with prominent names, makes such a startup more and more a kind of real brand, a real company, which people can kind of look at and understand, and kind of compare to other startups within the space, with that kind of key industry leader, of course, being OpenAI, ChatGPT, which is kind of a branch off from Microsoft. So ultimately, this is kind of Elon Musk's stab at really penetrating this AI industry market, and really kind of beating some of that other tech industry competition, such as Microsoft or Google, by introducing his own revolutionary AI chatbot. So this is definitely an important kind of topic to cover. But also is kind of interesting to kind of link to other competitors within the scene, and it'll be interesting to see how such developments with this new kind of AI startup affect such such competitors which are already out there. And then we're also seeing this kind of with Apple, who have started to build their own startup as well in Zurich and other places around the world. So it's interesting to see these powerful companies, corporations, and people starting to now develop their own AI startups off the back of the recent rise in AI technology and AI hype, with the latest round of financing seeing Musk attempting to close $6 billion in funding. One investor told the FT that Musk still remains a few hundred million short, though, with the venture capital firms Tribe and Sequoia both declining to comment on the latest round of funding. However, and Musk did not comment. Musk's latest round of financing for XAI is a part of a larger attempt to gain enough firepower, to catch up with the key market leaders in the AI space, those being OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, which have recently released their own powerful AI models. A key selling point which Musk has to offer with regards to XAI, however, is his connections in which he offers through his other companies, with X, formerly known as Twitter, likely being a key point to note with regards to data which can be used to train any new AI language models. Following this round of financing, a post-money valuation of XAI is expected to sit at $24 billion. An interesting point is that Musk was actually a co-founder of OpenAI before leaving in 2018 as a result of disagreements between him and the CEO Sam Altman. So a very interesting article there covering this new startup, which is certainly kind of making some gains within the industry with regards to their funding and financing round. So definitely keep your eyes on Elon Musk and this latest development by him. That's all to talk about in this article, though. Next article to talk about is linking back to private equity and also kind of asset management. So Capital Group and KKR are now combining their forces to offer hybrid public-private investment funds to the more wealthy individuals. This is in a wider move that seeks to open up to the growing alternative sector to a wider range of investors. Now, whilst I didn't articulate that very well, ultimately the key point to note here is that Capital Group and KKR are now combining their forces together to offer this new private asset vehicle to the kind of wider range of investors, which usually aren't able to see such kind of products and investment vehicles, as ultimately the kind of topic of private equity, credit funds, infrastructure funds, or real estate funds has really kind of been a topic or an investment vehicle really reserved to those ultra wealthy individuals or very powerful financial institutions, with the likes of Axel KKR being one of those. So ultimately, these investment vehicles are for kind of those more elite members of society, it does seem, with regards to investment purposes, and who's allowed into these kind of investment vehicles. But what we're looking at here is those same kind of elite investment vehicles now offering a way for those kind of wider ranges of investors, those everyday investors, to kind of get involved and somewhat work with and invest in these hybrid public-private funds, which will be, and it will be very interesting to see how these funds are actually formed and are actually able to be offered, because of course some part of the kind of private equity model and asset management model that we kind of generally see is exclusive for some very important reasons, and so it will be very interesting, I think, to see how the likes of Axel KKR and Capital Group get around this and still offer such services to the wider range of the public and investors, with the partnership linking the Los Angeles-based asset management firm named Capital Group to one of the best known private credit providers, that being Axel KKR. Both firms offer their own strengths with regards to the products and funds, with Capital Group having $2.6 trillion in equity and bond funds and a strong distribution network, whilst Axel KKR offers unparalleled access to private credit and private equity knowledge. The two firms are attempting to produce a broader platform which will make things like private equity, credit, infrastructure and real estate funds available to a broader range of investors, since such alternatives has traditionally only been available for the hyper wealthy. So this will be a very interesting development and something that's, I think, very important to keep your eyes on, as any changes within these industries is always very important to look out for, as it has a monumental impact on the future of such industries and the way that people kind of perceive them and utilize them and that sort of thing. So keep your eyes on Axel KKR and Capital Group, most certainly. That's all to talk about in the articles, though. Next to talk about, like always, is of course the charts. I forgot whether we were going on to the economic calendar there or the charts, but as always we are going on to the charts, and as always we are beginning on the US 30, talking more broadly about US equities. Now, of course, the US 30 has been in some very interesting price action recently, starting off the week really at these all-time highs, as last Friday, the Friday of last week, we really did see price push to these new all-time highs on the US 30, just breaching above those previous all-time highs and very much nearing, and very much breaking above that $40,000 level. So that was a very significant piece of price action, and we were noting at the end of the week how price was sitting just above this key liquidity zone that we've noted out just here, and we were noting that possibly that could be used to swing up further, but at the same time we were kind of hesitant of such price action, and we were kind of warning of, in fact, price making somewhat of a retracement and a sell off to the downside. And so as we did start off the week and price did start to decline somewhat, we noted out this key liquidity zone that we've noted just here, and we drew out those kind of key that key Fibonacci retracement tool to note out the key levels which price could come down to and interact with and that sort of thing. Ultimately though, whilst price did react to such levels yesterday, or at least not yesterday, on Wednesday, ultimately on Thursday, after price responded in a bullish manner from that level, price then did reverse on itself and sell off very significantly, and dropping all the way to the downside and reaching back down to levels not seen since the 9th of May. So basically reclaiming this entire bullish price action that we did see following, of course, the most recent inflation figure being released, which showed that inflation was on the decline. And this kind of paired with the kind of growing US equities bullish sentiment which created this bullish upswing, but now we're seeing this sell-off take place. Why this might be? Well, in yesterday's morning market briefing, we really covered the FOMC minutes, which recently came out, which of course did show that ultimately Fed officials, those key members of the FOMC, were still hesitant of lowering rates and were ultimately still worried about the persistence of inflation within the US economy. And whilst all members of the FOMC were kind of happy with not raising rates further, most of them, of course, were also happy keeping rates higher for longer. And with certain individuals and economists speculating that such interest rate cuts could begin as late as September, markets have really started to price in that reality, and now we're seeing this significant sell-off as a result of such kind of speculation. So price has now broken below that kind of key liquidity zone, which we're expecting price to retrace from, and has now also broken below this other key area of liquidity, which previously acted as an area of all-time highs and key resistance. So the fact that price has broken through that level is very significant, of course, and now we're entering this next area of liquidity, and which lines up with this key Fibonacci retracement level of 50%. So it'll be interesting to see whether price does react to this level now, and depending on the sentiment or the market sentiment, ultimately we could either swing back to the upside from this level, or we could just have a quick retracement to the upside, interact with this old level of liquidity once again, and then continue lower. So we're really going to have to wait and see on the US 30, but most certainly price action at the moment is very interesting to look at and analyze. Next to talk about though is the dollar. We covered US equities for a while there, but I think it's most relevant today out of all assets, because on the dollar, for example, we're not seeing too interesting of price action. Whilst price did react to this 61.80 that we noted out as a key area which we were likely going to see a sell-off from, as it lined up with this key liquidity zone, price has now reclaimed on that retracement and has continued higher, and is now nearing that 78.60 Fibonacci retracement level, which doesn't really line up with much key liquidity levels or psychological levels or that sort of thing. So that's why we haven't really noted that level out really previously as an area which we were expecting price to make its way up to and then sell from. So I think the economic data that we do receive today will have a significant impact on where the dollar does go. But that said, we're not receiving that significant of figures apart from the US durable goods orders figure as well as the US consumer sentiment figure. So those two will still be important to listen out for. Next to talk about though is Euro USD, where like on the dollar we're not seeing too much happening. Price did of course sell off from this liquidity zone though after breaking below it in yesterday's morning market briefing. So yesterday price was able to hook back, interact with that level as we expected, and has sold off from that area. Price is currently sitting though next to this, sitting on this 50% Fibonacci retracement level. So it will be interesting to see whether price now does react to this level to continue higher and make its way all the way up to this minus 27.2% Fibonacci extension level, which lines up with that other key area of liquidity. So keep your eyes on Euro USD. Next to talk about though is pound yen, which is continuing to push higher, continuing to push into somewhat of these uncharted territories. That said, over the last 4 hours for me, price has of course kind of stalled out and had a very tiny retracement depending on how the candle does close, of course, but yeah, price is continuing to push higher, slow maybe, but still pushing higher nonetheless. So price has not done this retracement that we were kind of expecting or hoping for, and instead price just continued higher. So definitely keep your eyes on pound yen though, because price is still within this kind of overbought territory, so anything could really happen. That's all to talk about on the pound yen. Next to talk about is Bitcoin, which is making some very interesting moves after breaking below this key area of liquidity and Fibonacci retracement level. Now, whilst we did predict kind of buy area around that 50% Fibonacci retracement level and liquidity zone, which we did see, ultimately this did not last, and instead price then reversed on itself and continued lower to the downside, and now price has really interacted with this other key area of liquidity and is sitting just right now around that 78.60. So it'll be interesting to see how Bitcoin does play out. I think price staying above this key liquidity zone though will be very, very important, as that level does mark the kind of top of the range in this period, which price was ranging in for quite some time. So price must stay kind of above that level if price doesn't want to go back into this range and possibly fall into the trap of consolidation once again. So keep your eyes on Bitcoin. That's all to talk about on Bitcoin though. And next to talk about is gold, which I wish we had more time to kind of talk about it, as ultimately Bitcoin has sold off in an insane way yesterday, and has really continued this sell-off that we started to see on Wednesday. So from Wednesday to Thursday, we've seen price drop from 2,413 all the way down to what is now $2,328. So a significant sell-off, with price moving a wide range of pips, and now price is interacting with this very, very key area of liquidity. So it'll be interesting to see whether price can find some bullish support in that area, and maybe we then just continue a area of ranging motion in this area, or in fact we now kind of on the downswing. So keep your eyes on gold. Lastly to talk about though is oil, where like always really we've not got much to say, but price is kind of moving lower. So maybe check in for some of these lower levels of liquidity like this that I've just pulled across, which price is now reacting to. So keep your eyes on oil all the same. That's all to talk about on the economic on the trade. That's all to talk about on the charts. Lastly to talk about, of course, is the economic calendar, where we're getting quite a bit of data today to end off the week. Now, firstly, receiving the British consumer confidence figure, followed by the Japanese inflation rate figure. That will be imperative for, of course, pound yen, after we did receive the British inflation rate figure. Followed by that, receiving the German GDP growth rate figure, as well as the British retail sales figure, as well as the French business confidence figure and the Chinese FDI figure. Followed by that, receiving the Canadian retail sales figure, as well as the US durable goods orders figure, and finally to end off the day we're receiving the US consumer sentiment figure as well. So lots to kind of listen out for today, but we've covered lots on the articles, lots on the charts, and lots of the economic calendar. Hope you have a great trading day, but that's all from us at Wildwood Capital. Have a great one. See you later. Bye.